I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these stories, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've been married to Emily for about 5 years now. We met in college. She was the girl next door, the perfect wife material, smart, funny, always seemed to have my back. We got married young, started our life together, and everything seemed fine, at least on the surface. Looking back, I realized there were some small signs of trouble. Emily's attitude started to shift a few months ago. She became more secretive with her phone, always had it by her side, even in bed. She'd brush off my questions about her plans, say she was busy at work or hanging out with friends, but I noticed she was avoiding me more than usual. I'd come home from work, and the house would be eerily quiet. No more spontaneous sex, no more cuddling on the couch. She'd get defensive if I tried to bring up anything personal, almost like she was hiding something. Things got worse when I started to notice her scent changing, more perfume, sometimes a different one altogether. She'd shower more often, and her clothes would smell like some strange floral perfume I didn't recognize. I found myself obsessively checking her phone, but I never caught anything concrete. Still, I felt like I was losing her, like I was missing some secret she wasn't telling me. But I didn't want to believe it. I kept telling myself it was just my paranoia. Then last week, I came home early from work. I forgot my phone in the car and went straight inside. That's when I saw her. Emily was in the bedroom, and she wasn't alone. She was with my brother, Michael. I froze in the doorway. They weren't just sitting, they were kissing deep, passionate kisses. His hands were all over her, and she was moaning softly like they were in their own little world. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My mind was racing. Was this real? Was I really witnessing my wife cheating on me with my own brother? I wanted to scream, to yell at them, but I couldn't move. I just stood there, watching as my life imploded in that moment. They didn't see me at first, but when they finally did, Emily's face twisted with shock and anger. She pushed Michael away and tried to act innocent, like she was caught in some misunderstanding, but I saw through her. I saw the guilty look in her eyes and the way she tried to lie her way out of it. My heart sank. I felt a cold rage building inside me. How could she do this, with my brother of all people, right under my nose in my house? And during my pregnancy, she's pregnant, by the way. I found out a few weeks ago. It was supposed to be a miracle, a new beginning. Instead, it feels like the biggest betrayal I could have ever imagined. I thought I knew her, thought our life was solid. Now I'm not so sure anything's real anymore. After what I saw, everything else blurred. I must have looked like a statue just standing there, staring. Emily's face was a mask of guilt and anger, and Michael looked embarrassed, but there was this weird look in his eyes, like he was trying to justify it even in that moment. I couldn't speak. My mind was racing, trying to process how she could do this to me, to us. I never saw it coming. Not in a million years. I finally found enough strength to speak, but my voice was rough and broken. I asked her how long this had been going on. She tried to deny everything at first, saying it was a mistake, that it meant nothing. She threw out words like stress, confused, and it just happened. But I didn't buy it, not for a second. I knew her too well. She's the kind of person who will lie so convincingly she can talk her way out of any situation. So I pressed her harder. I asked Michael to leave, and he looked at me with those eyes, full of regret but also guilt. Emily, on the other hand, doubled down on her lies. She said she was under stress, that I was neglecting her, that she was lonely. She even had the nerve to say she loved me but needs other things. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could she sit there and lie so blatantly? I was furious, but mostly I felt broken, like everything I thought I knew about her, about us, was a lie. I felt this deep, gnawing hurt, like my chest was being squeezed and I couldn't breathe. I asked her what she wanted, why she did it. She shrugged, said she was bored, that I wasn't paying enough attention, and that Michael was just there for her, that she didn't mean for us to find out like this. But the way she said it, like she was trying to justify her actions, made me sick. Honestly, I wanted to shake her and ask how she could be so selfish, so heartless. I never thought she could do something so reckless, so cruel, especially during my pregnancy, while I was carrying her child. In the days that followed, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her kissing him, heard her moans, saw that guilty look on her face. I started questioning everything about our life. Was I just some fool who thought I had a perfect marriage? Was the baby even mine? I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my whole world was crumbling around me. Sometimes I'd sit in the dark, thinking about how she lied to me, how she betrayed me with my own brother, my blood. It was like a punch to the gut every time I remembered. I tried to confront her again, but she'd spin stories, twist things around, cry crocodile tears, or get mad and accuse me of spying. She painted herself as the victim, saying I was paranoid, possessive, controlling. But I knew better. I saw her true face that night, and I knew I couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay. I felt like I was living in some nightmare where my wife was cheating on me with the one person I trusted the most. The betrayal was so deep I didn't know if I'd ever recover. I kept asking myself, what did I do wrong? Why her? Why my brother? And most importantly, what am I supposed to do now? The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and despair. I threw myself into work trying to distract myself, but even that felt pointless. Everywhere I looked, my mind replayed that night. I kept thinking about her lies, her fake tears, how she tried to make me feel guilty for doubting her. She played the victim so convincingly, like I was the one who was cheating, not her. I couldn't believe how she could look me in the eyes and lie so effortlessly. I started to notice more things. She'd leave her phone lying around more often, maybe trying to tempt me or just to see if I'd catch her. I was tempted to check it again, but I knew I shouldn't. Still, my curiosity was eating me alive. I wondered if she was still seeing him, if I was just some fool, thinking somehow this was a one-time mistake. I kept asking myself, was this even my baby? The thought haunted me. During those nights, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was going to wake up and find out I'd been played for a fool all along. And then one day I decided I couldn't just sit around and do nothing. I needed answers, real answers, so I followed her. I didn't tell her, I just kept an eye on her routines. Turns out she was sneaking out late at night, always claiming she was going to run errands or meet a friend. But I knew better. One night I followed her to a fancy hotel downtown. I parked across the street and watched her slip inside, my stomach clenched. She was meeting him again. My brother. I saw them go into that room, and I knew I had to do something. I couldn't keep turning a blind eye to this. I called my friend Mike, the only one I could trust, to give me some advice. I told him everything, how she cheated with my brother, how I was feeling. He told me to document everything, think carefully about what I wanted next, because once I confronted her, there was no going back. That night, I waited until she left the hotel, then I went home and sat in the dark, furious. I finally realized I couldn't keep pretending this wasn't happening. I had to face her, and I had to get some clarity, even if it meant tearing everything apart. The next morning, I confronted her. I told her I knew what she was doing, that I followed her, and I was sick of her lies. Her face turned red, and she started to scream, deny, accuse me of spying. But I didn't care about her protests anymore. I'd seen enough. I told her I wanted a divorce, that I was done pretending she was innocent. She looked at me like I was crazy, saying she loved me, that I was overreacting, that it was just sex, just a mistake. But I knew better. I knew it was about more than just sex. It was about trust, respect, everything I thought we had. And it was gone, shattered by her own actions. That day, everything changed. She threw a tantrum, calling me controlling, obsessive. Meanwhile, I felt numb, like I was just going through the motions of a marriage that was already dead. I felt betrayed and humiliated, but also surprisingly relieved. I didn't want to be with someone who could do this to me, especially during my pregnancy. I started to think about my future, about what I deserved. I knew I had to get away from her, from the chaos she brought into my life. It was a hard decision, but I finally accepted that I needed to cut ties with her and rebuild my life without her lies hanging over me. The aftermath of that confrontation was like waking up from a nightmare I couldn't fully escape. Emily refused to leave easily. She threw accusations, called me controlling, jealous, insecure, all the usual bullshit people say when they get caught. She claimed I was overreacting, that she loved me, that it was just sex, just a mistake she'd regret for the rest of her life. Honestly, I didn't care what she said anymore. Her words didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was that I couldn't trust her, not anymore. I moved out a few days later. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I didn't want to leave my house, but I knew staying wouldn't help anything. I needed space, time to think, to process what had happened. I stayed with a friend for a while, trying to get my head straight. Every morning I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck, and every night I lay awake thinking about Emily, about Michael, about that tiny life we were supposed to be building. Now I had serious doubts about whether that kid was even mine. I couldn't stop obsessing over it. What if she'd been unfaithful long before I even knew? What if she'd been lying to me about everything? I went to a doctor to get a paternity test done. I needed proof that this baby was really mine. The test was nerve-wracking. Sitting in that sterile clinic, I felt like I was waiting to find out whether my whole life was a lie. When the results finally came back, I nearly cried. It was a relief, my son was mine, but that relief was short-lived. Even knowing that, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been played, that all those months of her lying, hiding, sneaking around were part of some terrible game. I wondered how she could be so selfish, so heartless. Meanwhile, I started to think about what I wanted. Do I try to fix this? Do I fight for my marriage? Or do I cut her out of my life completely? The pain was too raw to ignore, but part of me still loved her, wanted to believe in some miracle where she'd come clean and want to rebuild trust. But deep down, I knew that wasn't going to happen. Not after what I saw, not after the lies. I couldn't forget that night, and I couldn't forget the way she betrayed me, the way she used me and my family for her own pleasure. So I made a decision. I told her I wanted a divorce. No more hiding, no more pretending everything was okay. I told her. I couldn't be with someone who could cheat on me during my pregnancy with my brother and then lie about it like it was nothing. She tried to guilt-trip me, said I was being unfair, that I was overreacting. But I stood my ground. I knew I deserved better, even if it hurt like hell to admit it. I was done being the fool in this story. I wanted out. I wanted peace, even if it meant starting from nothing. It's been a few weeks now since I moved out, and honestly, I feel like I'm just beginning to breathe again. The pain is still there, but it's different now, more distant. I've started to reconnect with friends, work on myself, and try to rebuild my confidence. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing. I won't let anyone, not even my wife or my brother, ruin my life like that again. I learned that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you have to walk away, even if it hurts like hell. And honestly, if I could give anyone advice, it would be this: trust your gut and don't stay in a situation where you're constantly questioning your worth, because you're worth more than betrayal, more than lies, more than someone who doesn't respect you enough to tell the truth. Since I made the decision to cut her out of my life, I've been trying to piece myself back together. It's not easy. The first few days after the divorce was final, I felt numb, like a part of me had been ripped away. I kept replaying everything in my head, second-guessing myself, wondering if I should have fought harder, tried to save what was left. But then I realized holding onto that pain was only hurting me more. I had to let it go, even if that meant accepting that I'd been betrayed at the deepest level possible. I've started going to therapy. Honestly, I think that saved me. Talking to someone who isn't emotionally involved helps put things into perspective. I've learned to accept that she was never the person I thought she was, and that her actions were not a reflection of my worth but of her own flaws and selfishness. It's still hard to fully forgive her. Sometimes I still get angry, mad at myself for trusting her so blindly. But the main thing I understand now is that I deserve better. I deserve someone who respects me, who's honest with me, who won't cheat and lie during the most vulnerable moment of my life. My relationship with my brother is strained, to put it mildly. I confronted him, of course. I told him I never wanted to see him again, that what he did was unforgivable. He apologized, said he was confused, that he didn't mean to hurt me. But I don't buy it. There's no excuse for what he did. That night when I saw him with Emily, I realized how fragile family ties are when betrayal hits this hard. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him, and honestly, I don't even want to try. Some wounds don't heal, and some betrayals cut too deep. Over time, I've started to rebuild my life. I've focused on my career, on my health. I've met some new friends, gone out a few times, trying to remind myself that life goes on, even after something as devastating as this. It's weird because part of me still feels broken, like I'll never fully trust again. But another part of me is learning to stand on my own too. feet and find happiness and independence. Looking back, I realize I learned a few harsh lessons. First, never ignore the small signs, suspicious behavior, secretiveness, emotional distance. Second, trust your instincts. If something feels off, don't dismiss it. And third, love yourself enough to walk away when someone betrays you so deeply. I used to think that love was enough to fix everything, but now I see that love also means respect and honesty. Without those, everything crumbles anyway. Right now, I don't have plans for a new relationship. Honestly, I'm just trying to figure out who I am again without her. It's a slow process, but I know I'll get there. What I want most now is peace, peace of mind, peace in my heart. I'm not perfect, and I know I'll carry some scars from this, but I also know I'll survive. And maybe someday I'll find someone who's worthy of my trust, who won't lie and cheat and betray me. For now, I focus on healing, on rebuilding my life brick by brick. And I tell myself every day, trust is earned, not given blindly. That's the best lesson I've learned from all of this. It's been a few months since I made that choice, and honestly, I feel like I'm finally beginning to breathe again. The pain still lingers, but it's different now. Less raw, more manageable. I've come to accept that what I went through was a brutal lesson in trust, loyalty, and self-respect. I used to believe that love could conquer all, but now I understand that love also means knowing when to walk away, when to protect yourself from someone who doesn't deserve you. One thing I've realized is that this experience has changed me. I'm more cautious now, more aware of red flags that I might have ignored before, but I'm also stronger, more resilient. I learned that I don't need someone to complete me. I need someone who respects me enough not to betray me, someone who values honesty over appearances. I've started focusing on myself, my health, my career, my dreams. I've even begun to forgive her, not because I want to forget what happened, but because I refuse to let her define my future. Looking back, I wish I'd trusted my instincts sooner. I wish I hadn't ignored those small signs, her evasiveness, her secret phone use, her emotional distance. But I also realize that some betrayals are so deep they shake your entire foundation. You can't always prevent them, but you can choose how to respond. And I chose to walk away, to break free from the toxic cycle she created. To anyone out there going through something similar, I want to say this. Don't stay in a situation where your trust is broken. No matter how much you love someone, no matter how many years you've invested, your self-worth comes first. It's better to be alone than to be in a relationship filled with lies and betrayal. Respect yourself enough to walk away, heal, and rebuild. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Today, I'm focusing on rebuilding my life, one day at a time. I don't have all the answers, and I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. Betrayal is painful, but it's also a wake-up call. It teaches you who you really are, what you deserve, and most importantly, that you're stronger than you think. I may have lost my marriage, my brother, and a sense of security, but I've gained clarity. I've gained a new perspective, that life is too short to waste on lies, and I'm finally ready to live it honestly, without pretending everything is perfect when it's not. That's the lesson I'll carry with me. Trust yourself, and never settle for less than the truth.